it's Teresa and we're back today with some neutral farmhouse. I figured we needed to break up a little bit of the really bright and colorful with some neutral stuff. We're going to start off with one of these love signs from Dollar Tree. I really like these ones because they've got those shiplap markings already there. They're not just drawn on. So we're going to remove the burlap heart. And we're going to start to try and peel off all of the paper because it's possible on these signs, but not on this sign. When I was doing that, oh my gosh, I don't know why it popped into my head, but that little scene from Silence of the Lambs where they say, you know, she puts the lotion on her skin or she gets the hose again. That's what I was saying in my mind. I was like, you peel the paper off or you get the heat gun again. I don't know why it popped into my head, but it did. So you see the one there, that's what it would look like if it had decided to cooperate, but it didn't. But that's okay. We are going to go ahead and we're going to fix these two signs together on the back side. We are using the front. Just basically glue down, you know, some paint sticks, popsicle sticks, whatever you have. And in this moment, that's my attempt in trying to say, like, I'm going to measure it. I'm going to figure out exactly the right spot to put this thing. And then I came to the conclusion it didn't really matter all that much. So I go kind of like in the 3-inch realm from one side, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, roughly like 3 inches. Because instead of hanging this with twine or rope or anything, I am going to put like command hooks on those little parts that are sticking up, those like ends of the paint sticks, because that's just how I wanted to do this one. So now that all of that is set and ready to go, we are going to paint it. I just painted that in Plaster from Waverly. And now I've got kind of like a clear wax with some gray paint. And I put that down just to give us like a base to start with. I didn't show it because obviously all I'm doing is just, you know, smearing all around. And now this is some of the antique wax from Folk Art. And what I'm doing is I just, as you can see, I put it in like dabs here and there, because I don't want it to be all one color. We're going to give this a wood effect. Obviously it's not wood because it's just cardboard, you know, sign from Dollar Tree, but this is one way you can, you know, give your stuff a wood look. Now, obviously you can stop at any point in time while doing this, or you can keep going, just depending on how dark you want it. So see, we're mixing it in. Basically you're going to do like gradual. You go lighter to darker. Or sometimes people like to do it the other direction. I think it works best lighter to darker in this particular, you know, method. I put down the big, you know, splotches of it, and then I'm going to take the side part of that little foam brush to kind of smooth it out and give it, you know, an overall like buffed out look, or, you know what I mean. You know where I'm going with this. And then see here, I'm going to just kind of go in a little bit darker on those spots that are where, you know, the indent is for the wood panels, quote unquote panels. Obviously, you can still kind of see where the heart was, but we're going to go and kind of mask that a little bit here towards the end. See, we're going to just kind of put a lot more there where the lines are. It's going to pick it up a little bit, but that's okay. These are kind of these like dots of it. I'm like, well, if it had knots, it would be, you know, darker in certain spots. And I'm kind of doing, you know, on the edges here too, just to try and give it that overall wood look. I end up being very happy with the way it looked. I mean, I wouldn't look at that and say, that's from Dollar Tree. That, you know, it doesn't, obviously it's not wood. It's not going to be looking exactly like wood, but I think it's pretty close. I mean, you can get away with it. You know what I mean? So, like I said, just going through, buffing it out. Now, as this dries, it's going to smear more and more. So just, you might like it, you might not. Now we're going in with some permanent black vinyl. This part obviously says home. And we're just going to flip that on here, find a nice spot. And I mean, I spent probably a good, you know, 3 to 4 minutes just trying to figure out where I wanted to put it that I didn't show you because, you know, who wants to watch that? At least not every time, right? Now, what I should have done, because obviously you see we're struggling a little bit here. I should have done a coat of Mod Podge first, which I did after I was done with this decal. And I should have also stuck the transfer tape to my skin, my shirt, everything. That was like a little tip from Christy Creates. And I actually end up using the same piece of transfer tape the whole way through. And at the end of using it, it was so much easier to use it. So keep that in mind. I mean, I've been doing stuff on my Cricut for the last several months, but this is definitely something I will do more of. Now, as you can tell, this transfer tape right here, I literally just cut the bigger piece in half, long ways, and used it, on this part here. Be careful when you're pulling it off though, because here I got a little overconfident and I was like, I'm just gonna pull it off. It'll be fine. And then I have to fix it. But it's okay. It ends up working out. So as you can see on here, it's working a lot easier. Again, I did go ahead and put down a coat of Mod Podge. That way it would have something a little easier to stick to, because it does have a problem sticking to the antique wax. So keep that in mind. Mod Podge first, then decal. And stick that darn transfer tape to just about everything to get some of the hold off. I mean, I like this transfer tape because it pulls the decal off, the transfer part, the transfer tape pulls the decal off of this strip easily enough. So now we're going to put, we're actually going to do the bottom line first, because I needed to kind of figure out where to place the and that I wanted in the middle. I thought that this was nice. And by the way, this font is called Magnolia Sky. It is from DaFont. Cheap. Well, not cheap. Free. Really cheap. Here it is, all finished up. Really, really love this one. So now today is a collab with my good friend, the Crafty Quinn. She has a lot of really fun videos that you're going to love. Go check out her video today. She's doing the same thing, neutral farmhouse. And let's go ahead and get back into said neutral farmhouse. We're going to do one of these little kitchen signs. It's going to stay in the kitchen because I love this, because my mom actually has a black and white kitchen. So I removed the little frame part around the inside. I originally thought I was going to use the front, and then when I tore it apart, in the process of getting that white edging around it off, I ruined it. So we're going to use the back side instead. I use these jumbo popsicle sticks, and then what we'll do is we're just going to trace it, like I showed you a minute ago, and just find a way to get it all to fit inside there. It ends up working out perfectly. These jumbo popsicle sticks, it takes exactly 10. We're going to paint the whole inside black, and then I painted the popsicle sticks. I painted those in Plaster from Waverly. As you can see here, 10 of them, I believe, if I counted right the first time when I counted it the other day, exactly 10 fit perfectly. So we're just going to go ahead and go through and hot glue each individual one down, and I take a few of them out just because I want to make sure I'm keeping a close watch on keeping, pressing them in. Like, you don't want them to have any space in between because they fit exactly right. So as you can see here, they fit nice. And I have one of these little rectangular things from Dollar Tree. It's a pack of them. And I just did a stain in American something. I'll get the name of it and put it down in the description box for you. And then again, we're just doing a quick, wash with some white paint, Plaster from Waverly. And I'm going to add a little decal to this one too, Darlene's Kitchen. That's my mom's name. I was going to do like an, established date, but I couldn't remember what year they bought the house. I mean, it's literally the house I grew up in. So I want to say it was like 1988, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just go ahead and get that down, that not stencil. Oh my Lord in heaven, I cannot talk today for anything. I'm going to get that decal down, and then we'll start to pull back the transfer tape. This one transfers a lot easier than the first one because, again, it's not using that antique wax. So since it is an actual stain, it's going to be much easier to pull back your transfer tape. It'll just, in all, it'll just be a little bit easier. I do still need to kind of finagle it a little bit. So if I'd put down the same thing, if I had stuck that transfer tape to stuff a lot more, it would have been much easier. I will be doing that in the future. And then here, I just had to fix my little, part from the T and fix that, and we're good. It was kind of wonky looking. So this is just going to go right there in the middle of it. And I'm kind of saying, do I want it towards the bottom and the top, just right in the middle, and just, hot glue that sucker down there, and the front part of it is done. But now I want to make this to where it hangs, so we're gonna do that. Now this paper that you see here, this is actually a chalkboard paper. It was at Joann's, it was on clearance, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. It's really, really thick, and I love it. So easy peasy, we're just gonna, you know, get a nice little line of where we're gonna cut. I won't show you cutting it because I just cut it with scissors, nothing too spectacular. I'm just checking to make sure it fits. It does, but I have not had success with trying to put the rope on the paper directly, so instead we're going to glue the rope to the sign. Just glue that down, you know, try to keep it straight, and then on top of that, we're gonna glue down our paper. Just doing, you know, one side at a time with the paper. Try to make sure you don't, you know, make one side wonky and then you end up not having enough paper, and you know what I mean. Can you tell I've done it before? So I'm just going to use a pencil to push it all down onto the back of the sign, clean up messes that I seem to always make. And once I'm done with this, I do go back ahead and trim it all around. Be careful not to cut the rope, because I was very cautious to make sure I didn't do that, because that would be senseless. All right, here it is, all finished. My mom's gonna love it. She doesn't know she's getting it yet, but she's gonna love it. So next we're going to do, on a previous DIY, I had made this little riser out of bamboo cutting boards from Dollar Tree, and you can't find them anymore in store at all. So I have some of these oval ones. They're still available right now in the Craft or Square section. They come in like a plastic wrap almost. So we're going to do the same idea. So I'm going to go in with the antique wax from Home Decor. And I saw this method on a couple of my crafty friends, I believe Sammy from Unicorn Dust Design and Savannah from Savvy Crafts with Savannah, where they use like a baby wipe to apply the antique wax. I was like, oh, that's kind of genius. You don't have to put it on and then take it off. It's all in one go. We like making things easy around here. So next we're going to take these beads. They are just a beaded garland I got from Walmart at Christmas time. Honestly, you can't obviously find them anymore, but if you happen to see them somewhere along the way in the next however long, grab them. They're really nice, much less expensive option than getting just like the wooden natural beads. So we're just going to glue each individual one down. You're going to try to keep them pretty close and try to keep them fairly close to the edge. Here we go. We're going to just show you the last little bit. And as I'm putting down the last two, I do go ahead and see if they fit exactly right. I'm not sure if I showed that here. I lied. I didn't show that. I did that first though. I made sure that they were going to fit. That way, you know, it wasn't going to end up being one that wasn't in there right. And when I was doing this and having like all those little streams of glue, what I did is I actually directed it towards the middle instead of on the outside. You know, like when you get the little web, that would be a tip I would recommend. That way you're not cleaning up, you know, 3 feet worth of web from your glue gun. Direct it inward instead of outward. And then I just follow up with some glue on the back side of the beads just for a little extra hold. And then we're going to go with our big Mama Jamma glue gun and put down quite a bit to hold on that top piece. And don't be like me and put it on wonky, which I did. It's okay. When you're looking at it from above, you can't tell, but if you look at it from below, you can tell. So it's okay. See there, that's the bottom. You can kind of see on the left side, it's a little wonky, but again, it's okay. You can't really tell that much from the top. I thought about redoing it, then I was like, no, I'm just gonna go with it. It's gonna be okay. You're not gonna see it. And as you can see here, we're just adding some more beads down 4 feet. You could leave this off if you really wanted to. It could be flat, a flat riser. So here it is, and don't worry, I know the beads are different color, but that's okay, because we're just going to whitewash over it. Same thing with the plaster from Waverly. Plaster from Waverly. Chalk paint in plaster from Waverly. That's right. That sounds about better. And I didn't want to go too heavy on it. The one that I made out of the bamboo cutting boards, I went a lot heavier on it, but that one actually was a darker stain as opposed to this one. I'll link that for you down in the description box if you're interested in seeing that one. That was all Farmhouse decor as well. So I do go heavier on the beads in the middle because they are so much darker than the rest of it. I didn't want it to be so obvious. So especially on the beads, when you're doing this, if you put down too much, just wipe it off real quick because they do have a lot more of a glossy finish. And here it is. Like I said, you really can't tell that it's kind of wonky. So I love it though. I'm happy with it. So on the next project, we're going to use these wood planks from Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 6. And I thought about just putting like drawing lines on it, but my inability to draw a straight line, even with a ruler, kind of defeated that as a possibility. So instead, we're just going to put down this scrapbook paper. It's from Hobby Lobby. And what we're going to do, just obviously here, cleaning up all of those little messes, and we're going to make a box. I know, really very inventive. But we're just going to take your glue, and when you're doing this, if you decide to make a box out of these little planks, kind of make sure that you're putting them all together the right way. Like here on this side, make sure your, whichever side are across from each other are going to be going the same way. Like this one is connecting on one side of the plank. Make sure it's like the same way on the other. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I'll kind of try to show you in a second when it's all together. Any minute now. So see right here, I'm keeping it on that same inside as opposed to putting it around the other way. It would have been a little wonky. I tried it on a different project. I was going to do something like that, and I did it the wrong way, and it was kind of odd. So anyways, make sure that you're doing that on this. Try to keep them straight because obviously these are all squares, and that's the only way they're going to fit together is if it's straight-ish. So see, here we go. Now it's going to all come together, and like I said, I would definitely recommend making sure you think about it as you're doing it. Not that it, maybe you guys are, just lucky in the fact that you don't have to think about these things, but I would have, if I hadn't like consciously made the effort to make sure it was on the same side, I would have messed it up. Now, I didn't like that it was super, super white. I wanted it a little bit more, not roughed up, but you know what I mean, like a little bit more to it. So I do go in with with that same antique wax that I used before, but now instead what I'm doing is I'm just using the brush like after the fact. It's like I'm barely even adding on anything more. It's just a dirty brush, and I add a little bit more onto it. It's just more watered down, not really watered down. I used the antique wax, but I added some of the clear wax to lighten it up. And just depending on kind of like where it is on the brush, if there's more of the actual antique wax versus the other one, it just kind of gives a different look to each side. And what I will do is I'll go in here in a moment. See, this one's a cleaner brush. I had too much of the dark on that, so I was getting down to where it was too much dark. So I'm just going to go in and kind of try to blend it out a little bit where all that white that's showing blends in a little more with the darker tone. Taking some more giant popsicle sticks, and we're just going to measure out kind of where they're going to go. You don't want them showing, so you don't have a lot of, area to work with. And I thought about making just a bottom for it and decided this was going to work out just fine. I didn't feel like going through the effort. And that was my little trick of how to use these things, these miter shears. I have no grip strength, and what I found through the process of this video is to actually bend it upward. Like when you're clipping it, you're going to pull the stick up, and that is going to use the leverage that you got on those miter shears to your advantage. So I'm just going to put a couple of these popsicle sticks down because again, I didn't feel like making a full bottom, and that's going to be okay. It's going to reduce some of the weight as well, depending on if you want to, what you want to do with this little guy. And see, I'm using some pool noodle. I'm just going to cut down where it needs to be because obviously you don't want it to be too tall. That would look kind of strange to have a little pool noodle sticking out of this little, box. So I'm just going to put down my hot glue on that part of the pool noodle, put it down. See how I'm doing this on a piece of parchment paper so you don't end up with glue everywhere. I'm sure I still ended up with glue everywhere, but that's okay. And I needed a little more support, so I added one kind of across the way too. And you'll just put down your little feet on each of the corners, as you're seeing here. These are just a regular little wood bead. I think I got like a variety pack at Hobby Lobby. I think that they had little beads that were on clearance or something. And you're just going to fill them with glue as well. That way it helps to kind of, fill it in a little. And that same brush, I don't think I even added on anything. I'm just going to go over those little feet just so they blend in a little bit, so they're not so stark, you know, difference. And also, so you know, when you're putting in your florals in your little pool noodle, you can just like stick them into the sides of it. It's why I absolutely love using the pool noodle. It doesn't make a mess. Now, this was actually something I had to go out and buy. These are kind of like a medium-sized popsicle stick. And what I do is I cut down one edge to get it to where it'll sit flush. And then I'll mark the other side and then cut down that side, so that you make sure that they fit right. And again, pulling up, see, you're pulling it up away from the miter shears, and that's going to give you the leverage to cut it. So if you're like me and can't seem to get them to work right otherwise, that's the way to do it. And then I'm just going to sand down each edge, and then we're going to clean up a little, paint them all in that same plaster. I think it's like one of like 3 paints that I used this entire project. And we're going to go in with a little bit of clear wax with some of the antique wax. Again, same kind of idea. I want these to match a little bit closer than just being white. So I'll just go through and do all of the popsicle sticks, craft sticks, whatever you prefer to call them. And I'm trying to give it a little bit of a wood grain look. Obviously they're wood, but since I painted it first, you're not going to see that. You know what I mean? I guess in theory, I probably could have just gone in with the wax directly instead of painting them, but I figured that this would give it a little more consistent look. So we're going to cover up those seams with these little guys. We're just going to glue it on. We're going to do one on each corner. Like, so there's going to be one on this side, and then there'll be one directly next to it. So it's pretty easy. We're just going to put down some glue. Honestly, when this thing, I just ordered some new ribbon from Dollar Tree. I kind of wish I had had it for this, but it's okay. I think it ended up looking really cute, and I put just a little bit of boxwood in there just to give it a little something. All right, guys, this bowl, I tell you what, man, oh man, did it give me problems. This paint that you're seeing here is just a matte gray spray paint. This is probably the 3rd or 4th color that it was on it. We started off with all kinds of different things. I'm gonna go ahead and include a little bit of that at the end of the video if you're curious of what this little thing has been through. So if you do spray paint it, I would highly recommend also including a layer of Mod Podge, because otherwise it's just going to bead up on that spray paint because it's not made to absorb anything. That's part of what spray paint does. So we're just going in with some black acrylic paint, some silver acrylic paint, giving it that galvanized look. And I used a makeup sponge for it. I then switch over to just a regular sponge, you know, with the stick, the sponge brush, I guess you would call it. And I end up using that because that makeup sponge, it absorbed a lot of the paint and it got everything absolutely all over me, my hands. So I'll go down, you know, do dabbing up and down. Smudging it a little bit is another option. You can kind of go through, smudge it some. I think that's kind of where I end up doing. See, I'm gonna like move it around. Basically just trying to give it kind of that different effect. Then I end up switching it up and I go in some with this more medium paint. This is just the elephant color from Waverly, and I tap it. Then I'm just gonna start tapping it all around to give it, you know, just kind of something else. It needed a medium tone. Like, it's too dark on the bottom and the black and the silver combined. It just wasn't doing it for me. So I just needed to add this little bit in there just to give it, you know, something different. And we're just going to keep doing this. I mean, it was not a short process. This bowl was just trouble. Here it is. I wish I had time. I didn't have time to add the little, you know, accessories. Here's all of today's projects. I hope you guys liked them. I liked them. I still like them. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to go check out the Crafty Quinn. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. And I will see you guys next time.